Hello everyone, welcome back on Meds. I'm your host Mr. Meds aka King Meds inkosi yamakhambi xa nindibona nibothi zaneza. So today I want us to discuss one of the most important but confusing topics, the topics of scheduling. You probably noticed that there are some medication that you can only buy on prescription, and some you can buy without a prescription over the counter, and some you can actually get them on the open shop or in the front shop without any restrictions or limitation. Your question might be, why is that the case? Well, to answer your question, it's all about scheduling. Scheduling is literally the backbone of all pharmaceutical operation. It dictates how medication should be sold, who should sell it, on what conditions, how should it be received and stored. Now, how does it affect you as a consumer? As a pharmacy professional, we usually tell you a lot about scheduling, and I realize most people do not understand scheduling and how it affects them. Today, I want to bring clarity on that topic so that you understand what you can access with or without a prescription. I also want you to understand that pharmacies are also running a business. There's no way that they would not sell you medication if it is legal. If you watch my previous videos about laws and regulations that govern the pharmacy practice, you will understand the consequences of practicing illegally. Before we can go any further, I want you to understand that this only applies to South Africa. So if you go to another country, the law might differ because each country has its own health standards. Now I want to share with you a story about the first time I went to the pharmacy to buy some medication. If my memory serves me well, I was still in high school. My grandmother used to suffer from a chronic pain because of her age. So she used to get her chronic medication from one of our local clinics. This one time she ran out of medication before her next clinic visit. She gave me an empty box of the medication and asked me to go and buy the medication from one of our local pharmacies. When I got to the pharmacy, I was met with disappointment. The pharmacist told me that I cannot get the medication because it is a Schedule 5 substance. I was so confused. I asked her, what does that mean? Because I have money, why can't she just give me the medication? She kept telling me she can't because it's a Schedule 5 substance. I then left the pharmacy very disappointed and confused. My grandmother had to wait for her next appointment because we couldn't afford doctor's visit at that time. Now that I'm a pharmacist, I realize that I am doing the same thing. I give people the same answers, not realizing people do not understand these rules because no one ever told them. I see the same disappointment and confusion in people's faces every time I give them these answers. Now let's start with our topic for the day. What is this medicine scheduling I am talking about? Scheduling is the classification system that the government uses to determine the accessibility of the medication by the public. I think once you get to understand scheduling, everything will make sense. With start from Schedule 0 to Schedule 8, with Schedule 0 being the most accessible medication or substance with less restrictions or limitations, to Schedule 8 being the highly restricted substances with more restrictions. Now there are a lot of factors that determine scheduling. We will talk about them a bit later. So who's responsible for determining a schedule of a substance? Minister of Health with other relevant stakeholders like SAHPRA is responsible for scheduling all new substances that enter our market. As I said, scheduling will determine the accessibility of the substance by the public. Pharmaceutical companies and pharmacies do not determine the scheduling of any substance. Each country must determine the scheduling of each substance based on their classification criteria and rules. You can find classification of any substance in the Medicines and Related Substances Act that I discussed on my previous video. Now, what determines scheduling? As I said, scheduling is determined by a lot of factors, but price is not one of them. I repeat, price is not one of them. These can be the safe profile. The safe profile means the toxicity of the medication, including side effects, the interaction of the medication with other medication or with other conditions. Then the therapeutic indication, what is it used for? Then the abuse potential. The higher the abuse potential, the higher the schedule. Now I want us to discuss schedules from Schedule 0 to Schedule 8. Using my PowerPoint skills, I made this diagram to illustrate the schedules for you. So it starts from the top, which from Schedule 0 to the bottom, which is Schedule 8. So we will discuss all these schedules based on the diagram. But let's start with Schedule 0. So Schedule 0, as you see on my table, the green part, the green block there. Schedule 0, these are substances that are considered to be safe and require little to no counseling by the professional. They are considered to be less addictive, and they can be used for minor conditions that a patient can recognize with little to no professional diagnosis. This product can be sold in an open shop like a supermarket, a convenience store, and the front shop of the pharmacy without any professional assistant. Example will be your paracetamol in limited quantities, aspirin also in limited quantities, herbal substances, your vitamins and minerals. Schedule 1. These are substances that are also considered to be safe but need little to no monitoring. They are sold over the counter without a prescription. They can also be used for minor conditions that patient can recognize with little to no professional diagnosis. These products are only sold in the dispensary by a trained and registered professional. The product include most but not all topical creams and ointments and few vitamins and minerals. Schedule 2. These are substances that are considered safe, but they need management, monitoring, and counseling from a qualified professional. They are indicated for minor conditions, but they might need confirmation from the pharmacist. These include, but not limited to, most antihistamines, most common colds and flu medication, cough mixtures, and pain meds. These substances can be sold over the counter without prescription in limited quantities. So everything we just discussed from Schedule 0 to Schedule 2, you can buy them without a prescription. Schedule 0, you can actually get it in the front shop. You don't even have to go to the dispensary for that. Schedule 1 and 2, you can get them over the counter in the dispensary without a prescription. Now let's get to Schedule 3 and Schedule 4 substances, the real stuff. These are substances that need proper diagnosis by an authorized prescriber. They are considered not to be safe without proper diagnosis. These will be your substances that are used for chronic conditions, like your diabetes, hypertension, oncology, antibiotics, and your antivirals. There's not much difference between Schedule 3 and Schedule 4. They are usually treated the same. As you see on the block as well, I've colored them the same. So they have the same restrictions and the same rules. These substances can only be sold with a prescription from an authorized prescriber. Schedule 5. These substances are considered to be minor to moderate addictive. They need strict monitoring. These include your sedatives, your antidepressants, your antipsychotics, and most painkillers, which is your analgesics. More advisable to be initiated by a specialist. This substance can only be accessed with a prescription from an authorized prescriber as well. Schedule 6. These are substances that are considered to have moderate to high dependency or abuse potential. These are highly restricted substances. These include most stimulants and your strong painkillers. Only pharmacists are allowed to dispense these medications. With the new pharmacy technicians coming into the market, they are also allowed to dispense Schedule 6 under a strict supervision of a pharmacist. Now, Schedule 7 and Schedule 8. These are also treated the same. You barely see them in retail. So these are highly restricted substances. So they are only you can only get them in specialized institutions. They are administered under very intensive care. So Schedule 7 will include your heroin and Mandrex, and then Schedule 8 will include your amphetamines. Now, I think I've seen a Schedule 7 substance, which is your cocaine, being used in hospital, obviously for medical purposes, not just to sniff it, for medical purposes. So this shows you that any substance can have a medical purpose. Now, it is possible for a single substance to exist in multiple schedules. A substance may belong in more than one schedule because of various factors, like your quantity, your dosage form, a route of administration, and indication. Notice again I didn't mention anything about the price. Our price does not determine the scheduling. One example is paracetamol, which your brand name Calpol, Panadol, Pain Block, and your Painamol. The syrup version of paracetamol, you can buy it without a prescription on the open shop in the front shop. It's Schedule 0. And tablets that are in quantities of 24s or less, they are also Schedule 0. Then tablets or capsules that are over 24, then they are Scheduled 1. That means you can buy them in the dispensary over the counter. Then the suppositories as well, they are also Schedule 1. Also you can buy them over the counter. Then the injection is Schedule 3. So this is the same substance, but it belongs to 3 schedule because of its quantity, the dosage form, and the route of administration. Another good example is diclofenac, brand name Voltaren or Panamol. The topical creams and gels less than the quantity of 50 grams are Schedule 0. With quantities of 50 and more, they are Schedule 1. Whereas tablet is Schedule 2 if sold in quantities not exceeding the 5-day supply, which means on 50 milligrams, it is 50 milligrams, 1 tablet 3 times a day for 5 days. So you can get a maximum of 15 tablets over the counter without a prescription. If you go into 75 milligrams, you can get 1 tablet twice a day for 5 days. That means you can get 10 tablets over the counter without a prescription. So a tablet in quantities more than that I've just discussed, then it's gonna be Schedule 3. Example, 16 tablets of the 50 milligrams will be fall in Schedule 3. You need a prescription for that. And then 11 tablets of the 75 milligrams is gonna be Schedule 3. You need a prescription for that. Then suppositories and injection are also Schedule 3. You also need a prescription for it. The same scenario, the same substance can belong into more than one schedule because of the quantity, the dosage form, and the route of administration. Same with paracetamol. Okay. Going back to the story of my grandmother. Now that I am a pharmacist and I know better, I can recall that the box was for tramadol, a Schedule 5 substance with very high restrictions. If I had this information before, then maybe we could have handled the situation better or managed the medication better. Maybe we could have went back to the clinic and just get the prescription so that we can buy the medication. As a pharmacist, I realized that this kind of information, we consider it basic information. We expect you to know it, but no one has ever took time and explained it to you. If I didn't know this information before I became a pharmacist, how do I expect someone else that is not a qualified healthcare professional to know this information? See, the information you will be getting from this page is not just meant to help you alone. It will help you manage your family's or your loved one's medication better. With all that being said, there is still a lot that we have to discuss, but that's it for now. I hope today's video brought you nothing but clarity. If you have any questions, opinion, views about scheduling or anything, please share them in the comment section below. Stay on meds for more clarity, not confusion, one med at a time. See you on the next one.